My name is Camille Hartwick, and I'm 29 years old. If you had asked me a month ago to describe my life, I would have said it was steady, predictable even. I worked in digital marketing for a mid-sized firm downtown, managed a color-coded budget spreadsheet that updated itself every Sunday at 5 p.m., and lived with the kind of comfortable routines that made me feel grounded. And for 2 years, I'd been in what I thought was a serious, stable relationship with Jason Reed. Jason was charming in the way people who don't have to try often are. High energy, social, funny, without being the center of attention. We met at a friend's rooftop birthday party. He offered me the last slice of pizza, I offered him my lighter, and within 3 months he'd basically moved into my apartment. We settled into a rhythm. Sunday grocery runs, midweek movie nights, Saturday brunch at a tiny cafe with wobbly tables and the best omelets in the city. I genuinely believed we were building something real. There were things that bothered me. Quiet, lingering things I explained away because that's what you do when you're in love. Jason never wanted me to meet his parents. He always had a reason. They're traditional, he'd say. I'm waiting for the right moment. 2 years felt like enough right moments, but I didn't push. He went out with his old college friends frequently, and I didn't mind. I liked independence in a relationship. I had my friends, my hobbies, my spreadsheets. I trusted him. Maybe I shouldn't have. The night everything unraveled was supposed to be casual. Jason texted me around 6 p.m. saying he was at a downtown bar with his college crowd and asked if I wanted to join. I said yes, because of course I did. I still liked the idea of merging our worlds. The place was one of those dim, trendy spots, lit mostly by Edison bulbs and pretentious craft cocktail menus. When I spotted Jason, he was at a table near the back, surrounded by 7 or 8 people, mostly women. One man I didn't recognize. Jason saw me, and this should have been the first sign, didn't get up, didn't kiss me hello, just gave a casual wave like I'd wandered in accidentally. Red flag number 1. I sat beside him, ordered a gin and tonic. Tried to join the conversation. They were reminiscing about a Miami trip they'd all taken last year. Jason had told me it was a guy's weekend, but here I was, hearing details about matching swimsuits and beachside mimosas. My stomach tightened, but I forced a smile and told myself not to overthink. Then one of the women, Melissa, who I'd met once or twice, turned to me with a bright, tipsy grin. "So, Camille," she said, leaning in, "when are you finally meeting Jason's parents? You two have been together forever, right? Like 2 years. I opened my mouth to answer, something like, hopefully soon. But before I could get a single word out, Jason laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a playful laugh. A dismissive, cutting laugh that sliced through the chatter. He looked at Melissa, then at me, and with this careless smirk said, "You think I'd ever introduce her to my parents?" The table went silent. I felt the air shift, cool against my face, my skin prickled. Someone coughed. The guy across from us suddenly found his phone fascinating. Another friend stared into her wine like it held escape routes. And Jason just sat there, smirking, like humiliating me with some kind of inside joke. I stared at him. Really stared. For 2 years, I had thought I knew this man. In that moment, I realized how deeply mistaken I'd been. I didn't cry. I didn't ask for an explanation. I didn't cause a scene. Instead, I smiled, a small, calm smile that surprised even me, and said, "Don't worry, you won't have to." Then I stood up, placed a 20 on the table for my drink, and walked out. Someone behind me muttered, "Jason, what the hell?" Whether it was at him or at the situation, I didn't know. I didn't care. I kept walking, not trusting myself to turn around, because if I did, I worried something inside me would crack open in front of all those strangers. I drove home in silence, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, the city lights smearing across the windshield. Not anger, adrenaline. Shock. The slow, suffocating realization that maybe the relationship I'd devoted 2 years to was built on absolutely nothing. I half expected Jason to text me, or call, something, but my phone stayed dark. 3 hours passed. I sat alone on my couch, replaying the moment over and over, the laugh, the smirk, the dismissive tone. 2 years suddenly felt like they were collapsing inward, crumbling fast and heavy. And then at 11:32 p.m., my phone buzzed. Not Jason. Lauren Bryant. Lauren was Jason's closest friend, and over time had become mine too. The balanced one. The one without the dramatic streak the rest of his friends had. The one who'd told me, early on, Jason's never been this serious about anyone. The text said, Hey, I need to tell you something. Can you call me? My hands trembled as I pressed the call button. She picked up on the first ring. Camille, her voice was tight, shaky, like she'd either been crying or was about to. What's going on? I asked, my throat dry. I'm so sorry about tonight, she said immediately. That was completely messed up. I told Jason off in the parking lot, but there's something else, and I can't keep quiet anymore. My stomach dropped. Lauren, what do you mean? There was a breath, a long, shaking one. Then, Jason's been seeing someone else for 6 months. The room tilted. I smoothed my hand down my face, trying to breathe, but the air felt thick, heavy. What? My voice cracked. Who? Her name is Connie. Connie Hayes. They used to date years ago. Her voice wavered. They reconnected in April at a networking event. He told us you two were basically over, that you were just, I don't know, convenient. Convenient. That word carved into me. Lauren kept talking, her guilt spilling through the speaker. I thought you knew. I thought maybe it was some arrangement you two had. But tonight, seeing how blindsided you were, I realized you had no idea. And that isn't okay. You didn't deserve that. I whispered, no, I didn't. I don't remember the rest of the call. Just static, numbness, silence. I thanked her, hung up, sat in the dark. 6 months, half a year. Every working late excuse. Every weekend with the old college group. Every moment he felt distracted, distant. All of it made sense now, brutally, painfully. I stared into the dim apartment, the clock ticking toward 3 a.m., and somewhere in the mix of shock and heartbreak, a single thought cut through the fog. I need the truth, the whole truth. And I was going to get it. Jason finally texted me the next afternoon. I'd spent the morning in a daze, moving through my apartment like I was underwater. Shower, coffee, staring blankly at my laptop screen while emails blurred together. I kept checking my phone, even though I told myself I wouldn't. At 1:17 p.m., his name lit up the screen. Jason, hey, can we talk? I think you overreacted last night. Overreacted. I stared at the word until my jaw clenched. Overreacted to being publicly humiliated in front of his friends. Overreacted to being called someone he'd never introduced to his parents after 2 years together. A hollow laugh escaped my throat. I didn't respond. Instead, I scrolled to another contact and hit call, Marcus Hale. Marcus and I had known each other since college. He worked in IT security now, the guy people called when they clicked the wrong link and their entire system screamed in red warning boxes. Hey, Camille, he answered. Everything okay? Hypothetically, I said. My voice sounded too calm, even to me. If two people share a cloud storage family plan and one of them logs into the other's account, how much could they see? He went quiet for a beat. Hypothetically? Yes, he sighed. Depends how it's set up. If backups are on and everything's synced, then everything. Photos, videos, documents, app data. Why? I stared at the framed photo on my wall. Me and Jason at a fall festival last year, his arm around me, my hair tangled in the wind. I remembered him saying, we should do the family plan. It'll save us money. Do you remember when I told you Jason and I started sharing a cloud plan? I asked. Yeah, you said it made you feel like things were serious. A pause. Did something happen? A lot of things happened, I said quietly, and I think I need to know how many. Marcus hesitated. Camille, I'm not telling you to do anything, but if you already have credentials and he put you on the plan, it's not exactly hacking, it's confirming. Confirming. That was what I needed. Not guesses, not suspicions, facts. Thanks, Marcus, I said. I owe you one. You already do, he said gently. Just, whatever you find, don't deal with it alone, okay? Jason and I had set up the plan at my laptop. He'd logged in himself, saved his credentials because he hated typing out long passwords. He joked, what? You going to steal my workout selfies? I sat at my desk, opened my browser, and clicked the little key icon that held all my saved logins. There it was. His account, his email, his password. My hand hovered over the trackpad. Doing this felt like walking toward a door I could never close again. Once I saw what was on the other side, I would never be able to unsee it, never be able to go back to, maybe I'm just overreacting. But then I heard Lauren's voice in my head. He's been seeing someone else for 6 months. He called you convenient. I logged in. The dashboard loaded slowly, a spinning icon chasing itself in maddening circles. Then, everything appeared. Folders, dates, thousands of photos. My heart thudded against my ribs as I clicked into the first recent month and opened the grid. Jason and Connie. There they were, smiling at me from the screen like some alternate life he'd been living parallel to mine. Pictures at restaurants I'd never been to. Jason with his arm wrapped around Connie's waist, her head on his shoulder. Selfies in hotel mirrors, his shirt half-buttoned, her lipstick smudged at the edges from kissing him. I scrolled further. Photos from a cabin near a lake, last December. I remembered that weekend. Jason had told me he was going to a guy's trip to decompress. Instead, there he was, standing on a wooden deck, Connie's arms looped around his neck, snow dusted in her dark hair. The worst was from about 2 months ago. A photo in front of a big house, lights strung around the porch, what looked like a party in the background. Jason and Connie wore matching ugly Christmas sweaters, grinning at the camera like they belonged there, like they were the couple and everyone else knew it. The kind of photo you take when you're serious about someone, when you're proud to show them off. The kind of photo Jason had never taken with me. My chest tightened. For a moment I thought I might be sick. I downloaded every single photo, watched the progress bar inch its way across the screen, like a countdown to the end of the version of my life I thought I'd been living. When it finished, I logged out, cleared the browsing history, closed the laptop. Then I picked up my phone. Me, we can talk tomorrow. Coffee at Brewed Awakening. 2 p.m. The reply came almost immediately. Jason, okay, thank you, I love you. I stared at those 3 words. I love you. Did he? Had he ever? Or had he just loved what I did for him? The stability, the emotional labor, the clean apartment and stocked fridge, and the way I always made things easier instead of harder. I set my phone down. For the first time since the night at the bar, I felt something sharper than numbness. Resolve. The next day, I arrived at Brewed Awakening at 1:50 p.m. The place was half full, sunlight slanting in through the tall windows, catching dust in the air. I chose a small table near the back, facing the door, and ordered a black coffee I barely tasted. Jason walked in at 2:15, exactly 15 minutes late, like this was an ordinary day and I was an ordinary girlfriend waiting on him. He wore the navy button-down I'd once told him he looked good in. He smiled when he saw me, a careful, soft smile, like he was about to bring up a minor misunderstanding. Hey, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. You look tired. I just raised an eyebrow. Do I? He cleared his throat. Listen, about the other night. I was drunk, okay? It was a stupid joke. Melissa was being nosy, and I just deflected badly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. He reached across the table for my hand. I moved mine away. His smile faltered. A beat of silence stretched between us. Tell me about Connie, I said. The color drained from his face so fast it was almost impressive. What? He blinked. Who? Connie Hayes, I said, my voice steady. Your ex-girlfriend. The one you reconnected with in April. The woman you've been seeing for 6 months while telling everyone I was just convenient. His mouth opened, then shut. His pupils dilated. Panic flickered across his features before he smoothed it over with a practiced frown. Who told you that? He asked. Does it matter? It's not what you think, he started. We're just friends. Stop, I said quietly. I pulled out my phone, tapped open the album, turned the screen toward him and slid it across the table. Friends don't usually do this. He stared down. His jaw worked, his throat bobbing as he swallowed. He scrolled once, twice. His hand started to shake. How did you fit? He didn't finish the sentence. Family cloud plan, I said. Your idea, remember? You're terrible with technology, by the way. You should probably change your password. For a moment, his face crumpled, like the mask he'd been wearing finally slipped. I didn't mean for this to happen, he whispered. Connie and I we connected again. I was confused. I didn't know how to end things with you. You're so good to me, Camille. You're stable, you're kind, and convenient, I supplied. That's the word, isn't it? That's what you called me. He flinched. A flash of anger crossed his face, then guilt smothered it. She had no right to tell you that, he muttered. She had every right, I said. Lauren has been more of a friend to me than you've been a boyfriend in months. He looked up at me, eyes shining with sudden, desperate tears. I'll end things with Connie, I swear. I'll block her, whatever you want. Just don't throw this away. We've built a life together, please. The worst part was that a tiny, wounded part of me wanted to listen, to pretend this was fixable, to go back to grocery lists and movie nights and the illusion of safety, but that illusion had shattered the moment he laughed at me in that bar. I leaned back in my chair. We're done, Jason. His face crumpled. Camille, I already talked to the landlord this morning, I said, my voice low, controlled. The lease is only in my name. You have no legal right to stay. I want you out of the apartment by the end of the week. Leave your key on the counter. I'll stay with a friend until you're gone." He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he'd built his own version of me in his head, the accommodating one, the understanding one, the one who would swallow her hurt and make things easier for him. "Please," he whispered, "we can work through this. I'll fix it. I'll do anything." I stood. "No," I said, "you already did everything." I left him sitting there in the coffee shop, surrounded by the soft murmur of strangers, and the evidence of his own choices glowing on my phone screen between us. Outside, the air felt colder, sharper. For the first time since this began, I wasn't just reacting. I was deciding. Jason moved out in 3 days. I wasn't there for any of it. I'd packed an overnight bag and stayed at Marcus's place. He insisted once he learned the whole story. "I've got a guest room and noise-canceling headphones," he'd said. "Trust me, this is healthier than sitting around watching him pack." Lauren texted me updates so I wouldn't return too early or accidentally run into him. "Lauren, he's packing slowly, keeps pacing around like he doesn't know what to take. Lauren." He paused for like 5 minutes staring at your framed photo of the two of you from the pumpkin patch. "Lauren," he put it face down. I shouldn't have cared, but something twisted inside my chest anyway. By the 3rd day, Lauren sent a final message. "Lauren, he's gone. Key is on the counter. Apartment is quiet." When I came home that evening, the silence felt different. Not the soft, peaceful kind. This was the kind that echoed. The kind you hear after something large and heavy crashes to the floor. He had taken most of his clothes, his PS5, his terrible Star Wars mugs, and for some reason, the blender. I let out a short, humorless laugh at that. Classic Jason. Destroy a relationship, but God forbid he leave without the smoothie maker. On the kitchen island was his key, placed neatly beside a note. Just one sentence. "I'm sorry, Jason." I didn't touch it. I dropped it in a drawer, face down, and walked away. I blocked Jason on everything. Phone, social media, email, even Venmo, just in case he got creative. Then I blocked Connie too, though I had never spoken a word to her. It wasn't about them anymore. It was about clean air, clean space, clean ground to rebuild on. But the universe didn't let me rest. 2 days after I moved back in, Lauren texted me again. "Lauren, are you somewhere you can sit down?" My stomach tightened. "Me? Why?" "Lauren, something happened. Jason and Connie. It blew up." I sat on the edge of my bed, heart thudding despite myself. "Call me," I typed. Lauren answered on the first ring, sounding both exhausted and fueled by secondhand fury. "Okay," she said. "So Connie found out he was still with you." I blinked. She didn't know? "No, she thought you and Jason broke up last year, that you were just roommates finishing out a lease. That's what he told her." A beat. She flipped out when she learned the truth. "How did she find out?" Lauren hesitated. Melissa told her. The surprising part was that it wasn't surprising. Melissa had been trying to suppress how uncomfortable she'd looked the night of the bar scene. "Maybe guilt is a powerful motivator," Lauren continued. "Connie confronted Jason. They had a huge fight. She called him a liar, a manipulator, and, this part is a direct quote, a walking crisis with a gym membership. Then she blocked him on everything." Despite myself, I snorted. "Well, at least she has vocabulary." "Oh, there's more," Lauren inhaled. "Jason tried going to his parents' house afterward." I waited. "They wouldn't let him move back in." I blinked. "What? Why?" "You know how his mom is? She adored you. She thought you two were on track for engagement. Apparently, when she found out what Jason did, she told him, again, direct quote, 'I didn't raise you to throw away good women like garbage.'" Lauren paused. "She told him he needed to learn to live with the consequences of his choices." I hadn't expected that. Not from his mother. Not from a woman who once ironed Jason's shirts whenever he visited. Imagining her turning him away at the door felt surreal. "Where is he now?" I asked. "Couch hopping between friends. Trying to figure things out." Another pause. "Camille, I know this is messy, and I'm not saying feel sorry for him, but he's unraveling." I didn't know what to say. A part of me felt vindicated. A part of me felt nothing. Another part felt an unexpected, melancholy ache, not for Jason, but for the illusion of who I had believed he was. "I'm not going back," I finally said. "I know," Lauren replied softly. "I never thought you would. I just didn't want you hearing all this from someone else." "Thank you," I whispered, "for everything. Always." The week that followed felt like my internal weather finally matched the season. Cold, shifting, unpredictable. I filled my days with work, cleaned the apartment, rearranged furniture that didn't need rearranging. I let myself feel everything, then nothing, then everything again. Some mornings I woke up angry. Some nights I cried in the shower without knowing which part hurt the most. The betrayal, the humiliation, the stupidity of missing the signs. And some evenings I sat on my sofa with tea, staring at nothing, realizing Jason wasn't the one thing I'd lost. I'd lost the version of myself who believed she was impossible to betray. But slowly, very slowly, something began to shift. One morning, I woke up and didn't immediately think about Jason. Another day, I passed our old brunch spot and didn't feel punched in the throat. A week later, I laughed, at something Marcus said, and I didn't feel like the sound belonged to someone else. Healing wasn't linear, but it was happening. Then, about 2 weeks post-breakup, Lauren texted me again. "Lauren, okay, are you sitting down?" I typed back quickly. "Me, now what?" She took a long moment. "Lauren, Jason tried to get Connie back. She told him no." "Lauren, he tried to apologize to his parents again. They shut the door on him." "Lauren, and he posted something on Instagram. You're not tagged or anything, but it's clearly about you." I didn't ask what it said. I didn't want to know. Maybe that was the biggest sign of progress. I didn't need his remorse. I didn't need his explanations. I didn't need closure packaged in poetic captions. The chapter had already closed. I was simply learning to walk away from the rubble with my head high. But even though I didn't know it yet, life had one more twist for me. Not a betrayal this time, but the beginning of something I didn't expect. Something quieter, steadier, new. 2.5 weeks after the coffee shop confrontation, when the dust was still settling but no longer choking me, something unexpected happened. I met someone. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a rebound. It wasn't even a date, not at first. It was a Wednesday evening, and I was standing in line at a small neighborhood bookstore that doubled as a coffee shop. I'd picked up a novel I'd been meaning to read for months. Something light but thoughtful, the kind of book you buy when your heart is tired and your mind needs a gentler world. The line was slow, and I didn't mind. For once, I wasn't rushing anywhere. I was existing, present in my own space, thinking about nothing that hurt. Then someone tapped my shoulder lightly. "Excuse me," a warm voice said. "Is this the line? I can't tell where the bookstore ends and the coffee shop begins." I turned. A man stood behind me, tall, slightly scruffy, wearing a soft gray sweater and glasses that made him look like he graded essays for fun. There was an earnestness about him that felt refreshing, grounded. I smiled a little. "Yeah, this is the line. It's chaotic, but in a charming way." He nodded, grinning. Like most things worth it. I blinked. Not because of the line, because of the way he said that. Calmly, genuinely, without trying to impress. We ended up chatting. His name was Ryan Mercer, 4th grade teacher, loved hiking. Had a golden retriever named Pepper who, in his words, thinks she's a genius, but is actually just very enthusiastic. He laughed easily, without bravado. He listened when I spoke. He asked questions without prying. There was no tension, no pretense, no undercurrent of something unsaid. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I forgot to check my phone. When I reached the front of the line, Ryan pointed at the book in my hand. "That one's great," he said. "Slow start, but the ending makes up for it." "You've read it?" I asked. "Twice. I'm a rereader. My students say it's a problem." His eyes brightened. "If you like that author, there's another one I can recommend. Similar style, but funnier." "Tell me," I said. He did. And just like that, effortless, unforced, I found myself giving him my number. Not because I needed someone, because I wanted to know more about him. Our first date lasted 3 hours. We met at a small Italian restaurant, he suggested. The lights were warm, the bread was divine, and somewhere between the roasted tomatoes and the panna cotta, I realized I was actually enjoying myself. Not performing, not trying, not shrinking or stretching to fit someone else's expectations. Just being. Ryan told me stories about his students, funny ones, sweet ones that made him shake his head but smile anyway. I told him about my job, the late-night deadlines, the weirdly intense world of digital marketing. He listened like every detail mattered. Whenever I paused, he gave me space, not pressure. That alone felt revolutionary. On our second date, we went for a walk around a quiet lake. Pepper trotted happily between us, blissfully unaware of heartbreak or betrayal or anything heavier than sticks. Ryan brought hot chocolate in a thermos and insisted it tasted better when drank outdoors. He wasn't wrong. Halfway around the lake, he slowed a little. "Can I ask you something?" he said gently. "Sure." He tucked one hand in his pocket, the other holding Pepper's leash. "I really like spending time with you, so I guess, when do I get to meet your friends? I want to know the people who are important to you." I wasn't expecting that. Jason had avoided the topic for 2 years. Ryan brought it up on date 2, with warmth instead of pressure, with openness instead of defensiveness. My heart tightened in a way that didn't hurt. "Whenever you want," I said softly. He smiled, reaching for my hand. His fingers were warm, steady. Good answer. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I felt something settle inside me. Not a full resolution. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but a quiet, hopeful shift. A beginning. Healing is strange. Some days I still found myself thinking about Jason, not with longing, but with disbelief. How had someone smiled in my face for 6 months while building an entirely separate life behind my back? How had I ignored the signs? How had I convinced myself that his distance was normal, that indifference was just stress, that every excuse deserved the benefit of the doubt? But then I'd remember something important. I wasn't the one who failed to love. I was the one who showed up honestly, and that is never a weakness. Last week, Lauren texted me again. "Lauren, just FYI, Jason is posting cryptic stories. Stuff like losing the best thing that ever happened to me and if I could turn back time. It's dramatic." I didn't ask to see them. I didn't feel the smallest tug. In fact, all I replied was, "Me. Hope he learns from it." Because that's all he was now. A lesson. A closed chapter. An old version of myself I no longer wanted to return to. I'm not fully healed. Some mornings I still feel echoes. Some nights I still lie awake wondering how someone can lie so thoroughly, so casually, while sleeping beside you. But I'm getting there. Slowly, steadily, firmly. And I know now with absolute clarity, I will never again be someone's convenience. I will never again be someone's placeholder. I will never again let myself be laughed at and call it love. Ryan and I have another date this weekend. He said he's bringing Pepper because she misses you already. And the way he said it made something light flutter in my chest. Not fear, not hope, exactly. Something in between.